Good day, grade 9s. Welcome to today's lesson for natural sciences. Right, we are still continuing with term 1 and the knowledge area is still life and living. This section contributes 80 marks towards your mid-year exam, so please pay attention and take advantage of the marks because they are relatively easy to get, okay? Now the topic for today's lesson is human reproduction and the subtopic is reproductive organs. I'm sure by now you know my name is Kwanele Dlamini and this lesson was proudly brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education. So without any waste of time, let's get right into it. Right, so what's the point of this lesson? Why are we doing this and what are we trying to achieve? We are trying to ensure that by the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the structures that make up the male reproductive system. You should also be able to explain how the structures allow the functioning of the male reproductive system. You should also be able to describe the structures that make up the female reproductive system. And you should be able to explain how the structures allow the functioning of the female reproductive system. Now, for more information on this, you can refer to the grade 9 CAPS document on page 59. Now, let's continue. Now, let's take a step back and revisit some of the concepts that we've already learned because they lay a foundation for today's lesson. Starting from grade 5, we learned about an animal skeleton. But what is an animal skeleton? First, let's define a skeleton, then we can go back to an animal skeleton. A skeleton is a structural framework of bones that are meant to support and protect the body, okay? They are actively involved in facilitating movement together with muscles, right? Right, so now let's talk about animal skeletons. Right, we know that animals have bones, right? Some of them have a shell, right? So we have two types of skeletons. There's an endoskeleton and an exoskeleton. In most cases, the exoskeleton is found in the form of a shell, and the endoskeleton is this network of bones that are keeping your organs in place and giving your body a shape and protecting it. Okay, so endoskeletons is an endoskeleton is found inside the body. Okay, the bones are under the body. As you can see, I'm also an organism that has what? An endoskeleton. Why? Because it's the bones that are inside my body. You can't see them, but they are inside my body and they are keeping my organs safe from harm and they are supporting my body structure. Right. So an example of an organism that we can think of that has an endoskeleton can be a bird, right? Can you see? All the bones of the bird are hidden inside the body. The only way you'll be able to see these bones is if the bird dies and it decomposes and then there's nothing left but the bones. Okay. The same, another one would be a snake. When a snake dies and it decomposes over time, you can see the skeleton. Okay, this is an endoskeleton. Why? Because it's found inside the body. And the last example, you already know which one it is. That is our skeleton, the human body skeleton. Right, we have these many bones that make up our body or protect our internal organs. But you can only be able to see these either through an X-ray or when somebody has died and the flesh has decomposed and the only thing that's left is the bones. Right. Now let's move on to the exoskeleton. Exoskeleton is what protects the body from the outside. Okay. Now an example of an animal or an organism that has an exoskeleton would be a millipede. Right. It's commonly known as ishongololo. Right. This is a millipede. It has an external skeleton that protects it from harm. As you can see, the body has this shell looking like structure that protects the internal organs. The fragile internal organs are protected by this outer skeleton. Another example would be a snail. Okay, a snail is very fragile. Okay, so it has this outer shell that protects everything from harm. Okay. And then the last example is very tricky because this one has a combination of the endoskeleton and the exoskeleton. But how so? This is first of all a tortoise. The tortoise has an endoskeleton that is inside the body that keeps the organs safe from harm. and it provides what? Structure. As you can see here, under these legs there is a skeleton. There are bones inside and all over there to the neck, right? There are bones here that hold the body in place, and on the outside we have this outer shell that protects everything from harm. So a tortoise is best in both worlds. How so? Because it has the exoskeleton and the endoskeleton. Now let's move on. In grade 5, we also learned about the life cycle. Now, a life cycle is the continuation of life from one generation to the other generation, okay? So it is very important for reproduction to keep taking place so that we can sustain our species or the human race, okay? So we need to have babies that grow into adults, that grow into elderly, and have babies as well, and then the cycle continues on and on and on. As people die, new ones must be born, okay? Now, in grade 7, we learned about human reproduction. Now, ironically, this is the topic that we are learning today. So we brushed a little bit in grade 7, and then in this lesson, we are going to go deeper, okay? Right. So we know that in human reproduction, you need two individuals, a male and a female. They must both be fertile. They must be able to reproduce, okay? Right, so the organs that are necessary or required for this to take place, we are going to learn about them in detail today, but I can just highlight it now. We have the male testis, we have the penis, we have the vas deferens or the sperm duct, then we have, on the female, we have the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, we have the uterus, the vagina, okay? Now this is everything in a nutshell, right? So we know that the sperm from the male must fuse with the egg from a female in order to form a zygote, and that zygote develops into a baby inside the uterus of a female, right? That's how reproduction takes place, right? Now let's move on. And let's do a baseline assessment, which is nothing but a couple of questions that are tailored in testing whether you still remember some of the concepts that you've learned as they are relevant for today's lesson. Right, we are going to begin with the first question. First question says, what is the purpose of the testis? Question 2, which stage in the human life cycle is initiated by the pituitary gland? And lastly, the physical changes that occur in our bodies, in the bodies of boys and girls during puberty is called, so you need to fill in what's missing there. Right, you have 3 minutes to work on these 3 easy questions and your time begins now. All right, learners, welcome back. I hope you were able to answer these 3 simple questions. Now, before we go about answering these questions, I would like to remind you that if you have a question for us, please send it through to our WhatsApp line, which is 082 760 2630. That's 082 760 2630. 082 760 2630. Okay, now let's quickly go through our baseline assessment questions. So the first question said, what is the purpose of the testes? First, we need to understand what the testes are. Testes are the male sexual organ, right? So, what do they do? What is the function of the testes? Anyone? Yes, that is correct. The testes produce testosterone and sperm cells, okay? But what is testosterone? Testosterone, if you remember from the lesson we did lastly on puberty, we said that the testosterone is the male hormone responsible for the changes that occurs in the male body during puberty. And amongst those changes will be things like a deeper voice, a taller height, a muscular appearance, pubic hair, facial hair, and etc. Do you still remember that? Okay, that's great. And then another function of the testes is to produce sperm, right? And sperm is the male sex cells required for fertilization of the egg from a female body, okay? Number 2, which stage in the human life cycle is initiated by the pituitary gland? This one, everyone should sing the answer. What is it? Yes, that is correct. It is the pituitary. Sorry, it is puberty. Puberty is the stage in the human life cycle where the sexual organs are maturing for reproduction. Okay. The physical changes that occur in the bodies of boys and girls during puberty is called, we did this also in our last lesson. What is it called? Yes, that's correct. It is called what? The secondary sexual characteristics. Right. If you got these questions correctly, thumbs up. You did well. Well done. If you didn't, there's room to improve. At least when you're writing a test, you will know how to answer the questions. Let's continue. Now let's define a couple of terms that we are going to encounter in our lesson so that by the time we see these terms, we don't need to consult the textbook to get definitions. We can just know exactly what they mean. So the first term we are going to define is the penis. What is a penis? A penis is a male organ that places sperm inside the female. But that is not the only function of the penis. It is also an organ used for urinating, okay? Getting rid of fluids from the body, waste fluids from the body, okay? Right, a sperm duct. This is a tube that carries sperm from the testes to the penis. We call it what? A sperm duct. Now, you may find the very same tube being referred to as the vas deferens, okay? Vas deferens or sperm duct is the same thing, okay? Don't get confused when you see that. They are used interchangeably. Right, the next one is the testes. The testes are the male sex organs where sperm cells are produced, okay? The male sex organs where sperm cells are produced. Right. The next one is the scrotum. The scrotum is a bag of skin that holds the testes outside of the male body. It is a bag of skin that holds the testes outside of the male body. Right. The next one is the urethra. The urethra is a tube that carries semen and urine, but never at the same time. So it can only carry one at a time, not both at the same time. Okay. Moving on, the vagina. It is an elastic muscular opening of female genitals. It's an elastic muscular opening of the female genitals. Okay. Genitals are the private area or the sexual organs. That's what genital mean. The uterus. is a place where unborn babies grow, okay, inside of the female body. The next one is the oviduct. The oviduct is a tube that carries the egg from the ovary to the uterus. We call it what? The oviduct. Now, in some instances, you may find it being referred to as the fallopian tube. You should know that the fallopian tube and the oviduct are one and the same thing. Right, the last term is the ovaries. The ovaries are the female sex organs where egg cells are produced. The female sex organs where egg cells are produced. Moving on. Oh, sorry, there's more. Testosterone is a male hormone produced by the testes, and estrogen is a female hormone produced by the ovaries. Let's move on. Now let's talk about the male reproductive system. So this is a picture of the male reproductive system. I'll just show you where each of these parts are located. So right here we have the, what is this? This is the testis or testicle. Then we have the vas deferens or the sperm duct. The sperm duct is connected to the seminal vesicle, which is this part over here, which connects to the urethra. Okay. Right. Then here we have a bladder, which is where urine is stored. Then we have the penis, which is this over here. Then the tube inside here is the urethra, and that's basically it. The male reproductive system is very, very simple. But I have a question for you before we move forward. Right. And my question is as follows. Why are the most important parts of the male reproductive system left suspended or hanging outside the body? I'm going to repeat the question. Why are the most important parts of the male reproductive system suspended or left hanging outside the body? Why? Now, to give you a clue on how to answer this question or on what these parts are, the parts are the testes. So why are the testes of the male left hanging outside of the body? Why are they not inside the body? What is the reason? Yes, that is correct. Well, we need to know that sperms are very sensitive to temperature, right? And so, if they are sensitive to temperature, the body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, which is too high for the temperature or the optimum temperature at which sperms can be produced. So the process of production of sperms is called spermatogenesis, right? That is the production of sperms. So the testes have to be hanging outside the body so that they can regulate the temperature to a level where it is optimal for the production of sperm. If they were to be inside the body, the temperature would be too high and they wouldn't be able to produce sperm. Okay, so that is the reason why they are hanging outside the body. Right, moving on. Now let's talk about this male reproductive system. We are going to begin with the testes, which we just talked about shortly. So the testes are these things that are hanging outside of the body of the male reproductive system. What do? They produce sperm and testosterone. We mentioned that sperm is what? It is the male sex cells. They are required for fertilization of the female sex cell, which is an egg. Then testosterone is what gives us the changes that occurs during what? Puberty. Okay? It is the reason why men or males have what? Facial hair, they appear muscular, and they have deeper voices. Okay? It's because of the testosterone. Right. So sperm is the male sex cell. It is manufactured by the testes, and this is basically the structure of the sperm. Right? It has a head, and inside the head there's a nucleus. Now, can you imagine if this was the end of the structure? Would this be able to go into the female reproductive system and fertilize an egg if it only had the head? Probably not. Right. So it has what? A tail. This tail is what facilitates the swimming process, okay? Because it has to swim from the penis all the way to the female vagina, right? But again, we need energy for this. So it has what? It has many mitochondria on the collar. This is the collar here. This collar has many mitochondria. Now, if you remember from our lessons from cells, what did we say was the function of the mitochondria? It is the energy powerhouse. So it provides fuel or energy for the sperm to be able to swim from the penis to the vagina. Okay. Right. And this is basically a sperm that is making its way to the vagina. It swims, and the energy comes from this middle piece, which we call the collar, and the ability to swim comes from the tail. Okay. It causes it to swim like a snake. Like that. Okay, let's move on. Now let's talk about the penis. The penis has the primary function of urinating. Okay, every male uses their penis to urinate, right? But there's another function in reproduction, which is when the penis is erected, it is placed inside the female vagina during copulation. Copulation is also known as asexual intercourse, right? So this is the penis over there, right? It is an organ that is used during what? Copulation, or yes, asexual intercourse, right? It also places the sperm into the female vagina during ejaculation. So when the penis ejaculates during copulation, after copulation, when it ejaculates, sperms shoot out of the penis to go into the female vagina, where they can make their way to an egg for fertilization. Okay, so those are the functions of the penis. Let's move on. Then we have the sperm duct, or the vas deferens. Okay, where would you say is this one located in the male reproductive system? It is the tube that connects the testes to the seminal vesicle. Okay, so it's this tube over here running all the way up to the seminal vesicle there. So this is the sperm duct. It carries sperm from the testes to the vas deferens, or you can say, sorry, it carries sperm from the testes to the seminal vesicle and to the penis. Okay, right. So what does it do? We've already explained. It's a tube that carries sperm from the testes to the seminal vesicle or to the penis. Okay, because those two are connected to each other anyway. Right. Then we have the urethra. What is the function of the urethra? First, we need to know where to find the urethra. So in this case, the urethra will be this tube that is inside the penis. Okay, it starts there. This is the tube. We call it what? The urethra. So it has two functions. So it's a tube that carries both semen and urine. So it can carry semen, which is a mixture of sperm and other fluids, or urine, which is the waste fluids coming from the body. So it carries both semen and urine, but never at the same time. So it can only target urine or semen. It doesn't mix the two. Okay? So this tube, because as you can see, the bladder is up here, the bladder, which is the storage unit of urine. Okay? When the urine has to leave the body, it goes through the urethra. Okay? The urethra is connected to the penis. It connects the penis to the outside. Now, in the case of a sperm or semen, it will do the same thing through these vas deferens, and then it connects to the urethra, and the sperm will be allowed to exit the body. But there's never a case where you're going to find sperm coming in and urine coming in at the same time. That's what we mean by never at the same time. It can only carry one at a time. And it connects to the external of the penis. Okay, the urethra connects to the external of the penis. It's an outlet for the penis. Right. Then we have the scrotum. Right. The scrotum is a bag of skin that holds the testes outside of the body. It also functions to regulate the temperature of the testes for the proper production of sperms. Okay, we've already explained this. Right, so that is the male reproductive system. Now let's summarize what we've learned. The organs of the male reproductive system include the penis, the sperm duct, the testes, the scrotum, and the urethra. Okay, remember the sperm duct is also called the vas deferens. The functions: they make and store sperm and places the sperm inside the female vagina. And this is a summary of the functions. Okay, so I have an organ and then its function. Right, the first one is the penis. What does the penis do? It places sperm inside the female during ejaculation. It is also used for urinating. Okay. Another one is the sperm duct or the vas deferens. What does it do? It's a tube that carries sperm from the testes to the penis. Okay. The next one is the testes. What do the testes do? They make sperms and testosterone. The next one will be the scrotum. What does the scrotum do? It's a bag of skin that holds the testes outside of the body to regulate the temperature. Okay. Then the last one will be the urethra. What does the urethra do? The urethra is a tube that carries both semen and urine, but never at the same time. Okay. So I hope you were able to understand the male reproductive system, because now we are going to move into the female reproductive system. Right, without any waste of time, let's get right into that. Now this is the female reproductive system. Okay, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to talk about the features and then we'll talk about the functions of each of these components. Right, so here we have the vagina, this area over here. Then we have the uterus. Then we have the fallopian tubes. Then we have the ovaries. Okay, so that's basically the female reproductive system. Let's repeat the parts. This is the vagina. This is the uterus. Those are the fallopian tubes. And these are the ovaries. Right, so let's look into what do each of these components do. Right. So we are going to begin with the vagina. We said the vagina is this area over here, which is the opening of the female reproductive system. Right. First, it is an elastic muscular opening of the female genitals or the female private parts or the female reproductive system. Okay. So it is the opening, muscular. It is an elastic, which means it can stretch and go back to its original form. It's a muscular opening of the female genitals. Okay. Right. It is where a male penis is placed during copulation. That is what? The female vagina. It is where the male penis is placed during copulation. We said copulation is what? It is a sexual intercourse. It also serves as a birth canal when a baby is born. Okay, so when a baby is born, it leaves the female body through the vagina. Right, so those are the two functions of the vagina. Let's move on to the uterus. The uterus is hollow with a thick muscular wall for growth of a baby. Okay, so as you can see, that's where the uterus is. And inside there is a growing baby. Right. So it is where a fertilized egg sinks into during implantation. So after an egg has been fertilized, it sinks into the walls of the uterus where it can begin to grow. Right. So it is where a fertilized egg sinks into during implantation. Implantation is the process where the egg sinks into the walls of the uterus for growth. Okay. Moving on. It also houses the growing baby during pregnancy. We've already mentioned in our previous lesson that pregnancy is a 40-week long period where a baby is formed and develops inside the uterus of a female. Right. Then we have the ovaries. We said the ovaries are these two things over here. Right. What do? They produce egg cells and estrogen. Egg cells are necessary for reproduction, and estrogen is necessary for maturing the female body, okay, to maintain the maturity of the female body. Okay, we talked about this when we were looking at puberty. What did we mention, if you still remember? We said during puberty there are physical changes that occurs in the female body, and these physical changes include what? Yes, they include the appearance of pimples, the appearance of the first period, the appearance of widened hips or broader breasts, and etc. Okay, these are the physical changes that occurs in what? In the female body. Now, again, if you have a question for us and you need clarity on something, please don't hesitate to send your question to our WhatsApp line, which is 082 760 2630. That's 082 760 2630. Right. Send your question and we will kindly assist you. Let's move on. The ovaries also release an egg during ovulation. Okay, so they also release an egg during ovulation. The egg is released and it goes through the fallopian tube during ovulation, and it stays there for like a period of 24 hours or more in anticipation of fertilization, so that it can be implanted in the walls of the uterus. Let's continue. The oviducts. The oviducts or fallopian tubes. Right, whenever you see the word fallopian tubes or the word oviducts, you must know that they mean one and the same thing. They are, as the name suggests, a tube. This is the tube that connects the ovaries to the uterus. Okay. So what is the function? They carry the egg from the ovary to the uterus. Okay. Right. Now let's look at a summary of the female reproductive system. The organs that are involved are the vagina, the uterus, the ovaries, and the oviducts. So what do each of these organs do exactly? Right, so we are going to summarize this in the following table. We will look at the organ and the function as we did with the male reproductive system. Right, so the function of the overall system is to make egg cells and provide a place for the growth of a baby. So they make egg cells, they produce egg cells, and they provide a place for a baby to grow. Right. So let's begin. We will start with the vagina. What does the vagina do? It is an elastic muscular opening of the female genitals. We said that it acts as a birth canal for a baby when it is born, and it also is a place where an erected penis is inserted. Okay, so it is an entrance point for a penis and an exit point for a baby. Okay, next one, we have the uterus. The uterus is hollow with a thick muscular wall for growth of a baby. We said that it provides shelter for the baby to grow. Okay, and it is where implantation takes place. An egg that has been fertilized sinks into the walls of the uterus so that it can develop into a baby over a period of 9 months. Okay, right, the next one are the ovaries. What do the ovaries do? they make egg cells and estrogen. So the egg cells are necessary for reproduction because we need them for fertilization, where a sperm fertilizes the egg, where they fuse with the sperm. And the estrogen is necessary for maintaining the maturity of the female body. Okay. And it starts being produced when puberty starts. Okay. It is the reason why female bodies look very different to male bodies, because male bodies have what? High testosterone, while female bodies have what? A high estrogen. And the functions of these two hormones are very different. Okay. Let's move on. We have the oviducts or fallopian tubes. What do? They carry an egg from the ovary to the uterus. Okay? So let's just go through these once again. We have the vagina. It is an elastic muscular opening of the female genitals. It acts as a birth canal when a baby is born. We said it is an exit point of a baby when it is being born, and it is an entrance point of a penis during copulation, which is also known as asexual intercourse. Then we have the uterus. It is hollow with a thick muscular wall for the growth of a baby. It houses the growing baby over a period of 9 months. Okay, and it is where the fertilized egg sinks into during implantation for the growth of a baby. Okay, then we have the ovaries, which work to produce what? Egg cells and estrogen. The egg cells are what we need for fertilization to take place, and the estrogen is necessary for maintaining maturity of the female body. Then the oviducts, they provide a pathway, or they carry the egg from the ovary to the uterus. They provide a pathway for the egg. Right. So now that we are done with this, let's move on to our activity. Right. So the first question says, why is the uterus such an important organ in reproduction? That's the first question. Second question, does the urethra carry sperm or urine? Third question, what is the difference between the sperm duct and the urethra? Number 4, what two functions does the vagina have? And 5, which hormones are produced by the male and female reproductive systems? So you have 5 minutes to work on these 5 simple questions, and your time begins now. All right, learners, welcome back. I hope you were able to answer these 5 easy questions. Now, if you were paying attention to the lesson, it should have been easy to answer these questions, right? But in any case, let's discuss the answers together. Right. So first question, why is the uterus such an important organ in reproduction? What do you guys think? I'm very interested in your answers. Anyone? Yes, that is correct. It is important because it provides a suitable environment for a baby to grow. Okay? Remember we said that's where a baby grows for a period of 9 months during pregnancy. That's where implantation takes place, where a fertilized egg sinks into the walls of the uterus, where it can grow and mature for a period of 9 months. Okay. So I hope you were able to get that one correct. Does the urethra carry sperm or urine? This one is very tricky, but I'm very interested again in your answers. So what did you say? Does it carry sperm or urine? Which one is it? Okay. That's good. It carries both, but never at the same time. Remember we said that the urethra carries both sperm and urine, but never at the same time. Okay? You can't have sperm and urine from the bladder, sperm from the testes and urine from the bladder simultaneously passing through the urethra. It only permits one of them at a time. Either it's sperm or it's going to be urine. Okay, so I hope you were able to get that one correct as well. Let's move on to the third question. What is the difference between the sperm duct and the urethra? Okay, if you understood question 2, you should be able to understand this one as well. What is the difference between the sperm duct and the urethra? What do you guys think? Yes, that is correct. The difference is that the sperm duct, which is also known as the vas deferens, is a tube that carries sperm from the male testes all the way towards the penis, right? While the urethra is a tube that carries sperm and urine, but never at the same time. So the sperm duct, in order to make a clear distinction between these two tubes, let me explain the sperm duct and how it connects to the urethra. Okay? From the male testes, which is where sperms are produced, there is a tube connecting the testes to the seminal vesicle and through the penis, right? Then from the penis, there's another tube. So basically, the sperm duct feeds sperms into the urethra. Okay, it's a tube that connects to another tube. I hope you understand that now. And then the urethra is a tube that receives fluid from the bladder in the form of urine or from the vas deferens or the sperm duct, which is sperm. So it can never carry the two fluids at the same time. It can only carry one. Okay? If it's time to urinate, you're not going to urinate sperms. Okay? And if it's time for ejaculation or whatever, you won't ejaculate urine. You will only ejaculate sperms. Okay? So I hope you understand the difference between the two now. Let's move on to the fourth question. What two functions does the vagina have? And again, for this one, if you were listening through the lesson, you should have been able to answer this question. So what is the answer to this one? What do you think? That is correct. It is where the penis is inserted during copulation, and it serves as a birth canal for a baby when it is born. Okay, it's an outlet for a baby during birth, and it is an inlet for the penis during copulation. So an inlet is like an entry, a point of entry, and an outlet is a point of exit. Okay, so the baby exits through the vagina during birth, and the penis enters through the vagina during copulations. So those are the two functions of the vagina. I hope it is clear. Now again, if you need clarity on anything that we covered in the lesson, please don't hesitate to send your question through to our WhatsApp line, which is 082-760-2630. That's 082-760-2630. And we will kindly assist you with your question. Now let's do the last question. Which hormones are produced by the male and female reproductive systems? This one should be easy because we covered this in our previous lesson and we briefly touched on it on this lesson. Right, so the hormones that are produced by the male and the female reproductive systems are as follows. Testosterone is produced by the male reproductive system, and estrogen, which is produced by the female reproductive system. So I hope you were able to get all of these questions correctly because they were very easy. Right, now let's summarize our lesson. We said that the male reproductive organs include the penis, the sperm duct, the scrotum, and the urethra. And the functions are the production and storation of sperm and placing the sperm inside the female vagina. Okay, so they make and store sperm, and they also put the sperm inside the female vagina. Right, the penis places the sperm inside the vagina through ejaculation, and ejaculation is a process where the sperm is released from the penis. The sperm duct is a tube that carries sperm from the testis to the penis. Okay, the sperm duct carries sperm from the testis to the penis. Okay, right. The testes produced sperm and testosterone. Sperm is the male sex cell, and testosterone is the male reproductive hormone. We can put it like that. Okay, it is responsible for maintaining maturation in the male body. Okay. Moving on, the urethra is a tube that carries semen and urine, but never at the same time. So the urethra is being fed by the vas deferens or the sperm duct with sperm, or it collects urine from the bladder. Okay, but it can never carry the two at the same time. Moving on. The female reproductive organs include the vagina, the uterus, the ovaries, and the oviducts. Their function are to produce egg cells and to provide a place for a baby to grow before it is born. Next, the vagina is a muscular tube that opens to the outside of the body. The penis is placed here during copulation, and it is the birth canal where the baby it is the birth canal or a place through which a baby is born. Okay, right, let's move on. The uterus is hollow with a thick muscular wall because it is where a baby grows when a woman is pregnant. The ovaries make egg cells and estrogen. Egg cells are the female sex cells, and the estrogen is the hormone that maintains maturity in the female body. The oviducts carry the egg from the ovary to the uterus. So now we're going to take some time to go through your WhatsApp questions. Right. Let's see if we do have any questions on WhatsApp. Okay, where is WhatsApp here? Right. There we go. Right. Okay, hey, I'm the learner of question line. The question line is 082-760 2630. It's 082-760-2630. You can send your question through this line. Okay. It looks like we don't have questions for our lesson because these are old messages. So let's go back to our lesson. Right. So let's look at a brief preview in what's coming in our next lesson. So in our next lesson, we are going to be looking at the human reproductive system. We are still continuing with the human reproductive system because so far we looked at purpose and puberty, where we were looking at the changes that occurs in the body as a result of puberty. And we said that was initiated by the pituitary gland. That was our previous lesson, right, under human reproduction. Then we looked at secondary sexual characteristics, which are as a result of the hormones known as the estrogen in females and the testosterone in males, right? We looked at all those changes, and we also looked at emotional changes like mood swings and bad tempers and all of that, which are as a result of puberty and the hormonal levels in the body. Right, in this lesson we looked at the reproductive organs. Okay, so in the upcoming lesson we will be looking at the stages of reproduction. Now there are a number of stages. I'm not going to list them in a chronological order, but I'm going to list them for you so that you know what to expect in what's coming in the next lesson. We have copulation. This is where a penis and a vagina are coming together during a sexual intercourse. And at the end of that, we have ejaculation, which is where a penis shoots out sperms into the female vagina. Then we have fertilization, where a sperm will meet an egg and fertilize it, and they fuse together. Right. So after that has happened, then that egg, which is fertilized, is going to sink into the uterus of a female, and we call that stage what? Implantation. And after that, that fertilized egg will form many cells, which we refer to as a zygote. Then that zygote will form an embryo, and that embryo will develop into a fetus. And then after 9 months, that fetus is going to be born as a baby. But the transition between the zygote into the embryo, this is when the cells are dividing and forming different parts of the body. And then when it transitions from the embryo to fetus, it is when the baby is maturing into an actual human being inside of the female uterus. We will look at things like the placenta, which provides food for this growing baby inside of the female uterus. And we will look at the final stage where, we will look at pregnancy, and then when the baby is being born. Right. So it's going to be a very interesting lesson, okay? Just make sure that you stay tuned and you don't miss out on that one, because these lessons are building on each other. From puberty, we learn about the organs, okay? We said that puberty is a stage in the human life cycle when the reproductive organs are maturing for reproduction. But what are those organs? Today's lesson was answering that question, explaining those organs and their functions. So in the next lesson, we are going to look at the stages that take place in order for a human being to be formed and born as a baby. So it's going to be a very interesting lesson. Right. Now, please remember, after you've watched this lesson to the end, please scroll down to the bottom of the screen and you will see something that says, you will see a button that says complete and continue. You click here and you will get bonus points for doing so. And we will know on our end that, oh, this person did watch the lesson from beginning to end. So please do that, and we'll give you bonus points just for doing that. Isn't that cool? Right. That brings us to the end of our lesson on human reproduction. And I really do hope, it was a lesson on reproductive organs. And I really do hope that you learned something about the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system and the function of each of the components or the organs that are involved in these systems. Right. So what I need you to do from here is please take care of yourself, sanitize your hands, wear your masks and keep your distance, and try running in zigzag to make sure you don't get sick and confuse the virus, okay? Now, my name is Kwanele Dlamini, and this lesson was proudly brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education. Please take care of yourself and keep safe until we meet again. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure hosting you for the lesson. Take care.